Hey everyone, I'm back again with another video. Today this is going to be my first ever boot review video that I'm doing on this channel. And for today's boot review, we're going to be looking at a Nike Phantom Luna Elite. A majestic looking piece of footwear, and a really innovative one at that. I decided to start doing boot reviews on this channel because I used to do them on TikTok, but TikTok doesn't allow enough time for me to really go in depth about the boots that I'm getting, that I'm wearing. So it'd just be better to do it on YouTube, where I can really, talk about the features, talk about the performance, tech specs, issues with the boots and things like that, so you guys can get a better sense of what to buy, what not to buy, based off of my recommendation, of course. And again, it's just a recommendation, so yeah, there's that. But anyways, that's right, we're getting into the Nike Phantom Luna Elite. This boot was released earlier this year in July, just before the Women's World Cup, and it's funny because these were actually designed with females or women in mind. If there's the best way I could probably describe these is like interesting, niche. Yeah, niche. I'll say niche. That's the right term to describe this boot, because I'm gonna be honest, after using it for about 2 months, I don't really think a lot of people, at least for males, I don't really think a lot of male players are gonna like these. But there are a few that wear these, such as Kevin De Bruyne and Aurelien Tchouameni. I probably said Kevin De Bruyne's name wrong, but like whatever. We butcher things all the time here. And it's also been worn by a few female players as well. There's one on the national team. I forgot her name, but if it comes to me, I'll remember and say it in the video. But anyways, yeah, these retail for $365. The same price as a Nike Mercurial Superfly 9 Elite or a Nike Phantom GX Elite DF, which is what these are actually derived from. And another interesting fact about these is, if you look at the colorway, it's white with orange, released just before World Cup. What other model was released before World Cup that was white and orange? If you guessed the Nike Mercurial Superfly 6 Elite, you were right. Or well, technically the Vapor 12 Elite as well. But yeah, it had the exact same white upper. The sole plate was completely orange, and it had like the black swoosh with the orange outlines on it. So I think like Nike definitely got inspiration from that boot when making this one, because it's just so funny. That's pretty much the exact same colorway, and it came out right before World Cup. But anyways, let's get into the review. I'm going to talk about it based off of 6 factors: the upper, the sole plate, the lockdown, the fit and comfort, the durability, and overall performance. These 6 factors will determine what I think of it as a boot, and at the end I'll give it an overall rating out of 10, giving you my general thoughts on it and whether I think you should pick it up or not, depending on who you are and like what you need it for. But without further ado, let's get into this review. Beginning with the upper. This upper is made from Nike's grip knit. Now, grip knit is essentially just fly knit that's been re-engineered so that's supposed to be exposed. They basically take the yarns that are woven together to make fly knit, and they coat some of them with like a silicone coating, or I think it's a sticky type of rubber material coating, and then some of the yarns are not. So like you see these patterns in here, that's like these gray parts would be, I think, the grip knit parts, or it could be the white and the gray is just like the regular fly knit, but that's how it would work. And this is on the GX, keep in mind. So all of that is exposed to the elements, so that's when you touch it, it feels like more waxy and like silicone and like grippy to the touch. When you compare that to this, it's the same upper material, but there's a big difference in that this whole grip knit upper is covered by a silicone coating, and you can kind of see it when you look at the seams here. It's really noticeable on this side. You can see the silicone, and then just go straight into the fly knit color. Now, Nike says that they put the silicone on top because they want to increase the durability of the grip knit upper when being used, because grip knit is exposed fly knit, and as you know, knit will wear down over time. But then another reason they did this, because they want to help add support to the female foot when female athletes are using these, which is an interesting case to be made. If anything, I feel like the silicone coating takes away from the grip knit's potential and just kind of makes it like any other upper. Honestly, they've added these like ribby textured parts on top to kind of compensate for the lack of the grip knit, but honestly, like, they don't really do much. Like right here, they actually feel pretty grippy, I guess. Like you can kind of hear it too. It's like it's pretty rough, pretty coarse, which should provide decent grip, you'd expect, but actually on the ball it doesn't feel that much different to any other silicone coated fly knit or like prime knit or any other type of knit upper that's covered with silicone. And in fact, this upper is actually really stiff because of the silicone. I'm guessing it's because part of the upper is already like coated and sticky, which adds some kind of stiffness to the upper itself, and then you put a silicone coating on top, and that just makes it even more stiff, less malleable, which when combined with the shape of the foot, which is something I'll get into a little later, this makes for a pretty uncomfortable upper. It's also very thick, again, because of the silicone coating, the inner liner, and then the fact that there's the grip knit that's already been made underneath the silicone coating. It actually ends up feeling more like a Machista Ober 2 upper in the sense that it's very padded, but it's not nearly as soft. And then with these like textured ribs on the top that are supposed to provide grip, it ends up feeling kind of like a Superfly 6 Elite upper. If you remember, those had the vertical strips running down, going like this, more or less. So yeah, I'd say this is like a, for at least the upper, like I'd hate to be that guy, but this is basically a poor fusion of the Machista Ober 2 and Nike Mercurial Superfly / Vapor 12 Elite upper. That's all it is, really. Very stiff, very padded. At least if you get stepped on, you won't feel it as bad because the padding is there, but it's not the greatest upper in my opinion. And so because of that, I'm gonna give this upper a 5 out of 10, I'm pretty sure. Next, let's talk about the sole play of the Nike Phantom Luna Elite. Now this is probably the biggest feature of this boot, and simply because of this point right here. This is what Nike calls the Nike Cyclone 360 unit, and this is designed to help with twisting and pivoting, hence the Cyclone design. They use 5 circular blades and a little dish in the center that's supposed to touch the ground, like let's say my hand is the ground, it's supposed to dig in and just slide and twist super easily. I'm gonna say this is super effective. And before I get into why it's super effective, I'm going to explain why Nike decided to do this in the first place for female athletes. So it may not be well known, but female athletes are more susceptible to ACL injuries and other knee injuries than male athletes. And this is because of many factors that interact to like make the female knees more, weak compared to male knees. But some of these factors include the width of the pelvis. So the width of the pelvis kind of disjoints or disaligns the femur and the tibia in the way that they align, or I guess another I could say is like the geometry of the tibia and the femur is different compared to males because of the length of the pelvis compared to males. Females have a wider one than males, and because of that, that's one factor that can affect it. Another major factor is the amount of muscle mass that's on the female knee compared to the male knee, and the male knee has more muscle mass, which means it has more protection around the knee joint. Another factor would be testosterone. I'm not exactly sure how testosterone production is connected, but I've read in multiple studies that this is a big factor in why female knees are more susceptible to ACL injuries and things like that. But anyways, those are just 3 of the factors that contribute to those injuries, and because of that, Nike realized that they need to try and do something to at least make their boots safer for females to wear so that when they're twisting and pivoting, they wouldn't be as susceptible to injury. And that's how they came up with this Nike Cyclone 360 design. Now, I'm gonna be honest, on natural grass and even artificial grass, this is super effective. The bladed studs, they do a very good job of digging into the grass or the ground, whatever you wanna call it. And it just twists and pivots like so effectively. Like I feel like I can slide, like rotationally slide around like super easily. It's a very interesting feeling that I've never felt before from any other pair of cleats. Like you can get this from conical cleats too, but I'm just saying like for what this does or what it's designed to do, it does it super effectively. And Nike really knocked the ball out of the park with this sole plate element. When it comes to the rest of the sole plate, it's designed similarly to the GX. It has a very flexible forefoot midfoot junction right here. And then the actual like sole plate itself is super flexible too. As you can see, I can bend this completely. It's super duper easy to bend this. And when we're running on foot, it just feels super flexible, super cozy, and it feels super like supportive. That's one of the few good things about the shape of this compared to like the rest of the boot for like a male. That's the only thing I really appreciate when it comes to the fit of these boots. The sole plate, it's very good. Again, another big factor with this is the bladed studs. As we know, bladed studs are usually can be better for bite and for giving traction because they dig into the grass or the ground a lot better than others. So while this is similar to the GX sole plate in terms of like everything that's been put together, the flexibility, the plastic that it uses, the bladed studs add for a lot more traction, a lot more bite, and a lot more aggressiveness when you're sprinting, when you're changing direction. when you're pivoting, things like that. And I really appreciate that as a winger or striker, because I play both. And I'm constantly on my feet making hard cuts, hard changes of direction. So I really appreciate this. The performance is out of this world for the sole plate, and because of that, I'm gonna have to give it a 10 out of 10. Moving to the fit and comfort of the boot, this is probably the worst aspect of it, and not because it's a bad thing per se, but it's because of the shape of the male foot. So these are designed according to the female foot, and female feet are usually wider towards the midfoot area, but they're typically narrower in like width and length, and also smaller in volume compared to the male foot, if I remember correctly. So it's just gonna be a tight fit in general if you're a male trying to get into these. So on top of that, I'm wide-footed and I'm a male, and the widest points of my feet are in the midfoot. So that's brutal, absolutely brutal trying to put these on. And when you get them on at first, like, it's brutal. Like, breaking these in is one of the most difficult jobs I've ever had when it comes to football boots, because they just crushed my midfoot the entire time. And another issue is this sole plate, not in the sense of how it performs, but the way that it's linked with the uppers. You can see it's like the upper goes straight down into the sole plate, so it's kind of like a cage, kind of like this, and it crushes down your toes. Basically, my toes are squished together all the time because, one, the toe box is super narrow because of the design according to the last of a female foot, and on top of that, it's just a lot lower in volume, so my toes are always being crushed. It's super painful, especially when you're breaking these in. I had to take these off a few times during training sessions, which is something I don't normally do, even when I'm breaking in like things like mercurials, which are pretty tight themselves. So that just tells you just how narrow and how tight these really are around the foot. Most of the pain you'll feel if you break these in, or even after breaking them in, you'll feel it like around here in the toe box and in the midfoot. Closer to the rear foot, it starts to adjust based on your ankle. There's actually a lot of room in this ankle, and it has these like heel cushions right in the back. They're supposed to make it really comfortable for your heel when you're running around and sliding around, so that's all right. I can't really complain about that. The heel counter is also constructed in a way where there's a U cut out right here, so there's no pressure on your Achilles tendon. And another thing they did was they moved the stitch that's on the back up to the side, so it's avoiding your Achilles tendon as well. So when you're running, you don't feel any chafing, any rubbing against your Achilles tendon, and that's super comfortable for me. So I'd say the rear foot is really comfortable on these. The midfoot and the toe box are brutal on these, especially for me because I have wide feet. So if you're a male, I'd say, like, good luck if you get these. If you're a female though, I'm sure these will fit fine for you, especially because they're sized according to female feet and they're designed for female feet. So yeah, but from a male perspective, these just don't fit the way that I'd like to. And even after putting in like over 25 hours of use on these, they still don't fit that well, especially in the toes. Like, they're constantly being scrunched together. So for me, these are gonna get a 6 out of 10. In terms of lockdown, these are very good. The asymmetric fit system, you can see by the designation here, or asym fit as Nike decided to call it, is super nice as it locks closer to the medial side of your foot and really pulls your lateral side closer to that side. So I really like that. It locks in really well. And the sock, like, it stretches to put it on, but not too much to where like it feels loose. Like, it's pretty tight on my ankle. So honestly, these are actually even pretty difficult to get off if you're running. And thanks to the heel, like, it doesn't like grip your ankle, but it's not super like loose. It's not too bulky, so it's comfortable, but it's also practical. It sticks to your heel and really locks it in. So I can appreciate that about this. This has really good lockdown, especially in the midfoot because of that lacing system, that medially biased lacing system that goes down into this side. And then of course, the fact that it's designed to fit a female foot means it's going to be tighter anyways. So yes, it's just going to have a tighter fit and more lockdown on the male foot in general. And even on the female foot, I think it'll have pretty good lockdown anyways. The stiffness of the upper also helps because it just makes it very difficult for the boot to move and like really flex and do things like that. So in a weird way, that honestly helps the lockdown of this boot, and I can't complain. The lockdown gets a 9 out of 10. It's just that good, and when you're running with these on, you're not gonna feel like they're gonna come off or you're gonna get any heel slippage or anything. Even with grip socks, like, You don't even need them really to play in these because they have laces, but the lockdown these is just so immense that even with grip socks, I think it's kind of overkill given the way that it fits and feels on your feet and the way that it locks into your ankle. So yeah, once again, lockdown, 9 out of 10. In terms of durability, these get a 10 out of 10. They're literal tanks. Of course, Nike put the silicone coating on top of the grip knit so that the upper doesn't shred or break down prematurely. And as you can see, this is my left boot. There's pretty much no degradation or damage on the upper. It's just got some staining from like playing on grass, especially around like the sole plate junction. Down here, maybe you can see like a little bit of like shredding. If this could focus. Yeah, you can see like maybe a tiny bit of shredding right here, but it's nothing really. The upper is just very strong. The sole plate, like the studs, have a little bit of like flaring off from the plastic, but that's gonna happen with wear. It's just normal, especially if you like have like turf pitches where you have to like walk on concrete to sit on your benches and stuff like that. And like the junctions where they bend, nothing. It's completely solid. So yeah, these are tanks. They get 10 out of 10. They won't break down you anytime soon. That is for sure. Finally, we've come to performance, and I'm going to be honest, these kind of suffer when it comes to the performance. I do not think these perform well at all. Or well, I wouldn't say that. That's kind of harsh. I'd say they feel very average, and it could be a lot better because of the way they perform. When it comes to the upper, the touch on the ball is very padded, kind of like the Machista Ober 2 as I described earlier, but just stiffer. When you're dribbling, when you're shooting, when you're taking a touch from the air, the ball, you don't really feel connected to the ball. You just feel like something's hitting your foot because of all the padding that's within this upper, and it's on all sides of the ball, or all sides of the foot, my bad. It just doesn't feel connected to the ball the way like you would with like a Mercurial Vapor or Superfly 9 or like maybe an X Crazy Fast Plus or something. And for an upper that's honestly supposed to be pretty thin with grip knit, this is super thick. So yeah, it's just super padded. The speed ribs, I want to call these speed ribs so bad just because of how they remind me of the ribs that are on the Nike Mercurial Superfly 5 or on the Vapor 12 and Superfly 6 Elite. They're supposed to provide grip, but they really do nothing at all. You don't feel it. Again, it's not connected to the ball in any way, shape, or form. It's just kind of there. You just feel like you're hitting a ball, or like you're hitting something, not a ball. You don't feel very barefoot. And then especially when shooting with certain techniques, it's actually super frustrating to shoot with these, mainly due to the shape of the boots. As I said before, my toes are crushed together. So especially for the knuckleball technique, if I'm trying to perform that, you know how you're supposed to strike the ball around here. This is the hardest part of your foot. If I'm trying to do that and like drag my foot like this way, or like lock my ankle and then drag it like that, I just can't do it without feeling my toes like having to move and rotate, and that throws off like my connection with the ball. So hitting a knuckleball tech is not very easy with these, in my personal opinion. Another issue is that because of this lacing system, when I'm trying to get power on the ball, oftentimes I feel like I connect more with the laces than with my foot, and that's purely due to the design of the lacing system. It's supposed to be medially biased, not straight or off-centered to the lateral side, so you're always going to make more contact with the laces. And I guess if you get your technique to improve, or if I get my technique to improve, then maybe I'll get more consistent shots. But the amount of times I've just struck the laces and just lost the power with the connection that I was looking for, it's ridiculous. So shooting, dribbling, touch on the ball is not great with these. Again, comfort-wise, they aren't great to play with at all during a game because they just hurt your feet the entire time. Even after breaking them in, they don't hurt, but they're just uncomfortable, and you might have to take them off every now and again when you're playing with them. Another big issue with these is the weight. These are the heaviest model that Nike has in their lineup right now. So I think the lightest one is the Mercurial Vapor, the 15 Elite, and then after that is the GX Elite, and then the Tiempo Legend 10 Elite. Then it's the Superfly 9 Elite, the GX Elite DF, and then it's these being the heaviest. And you really notice it. Like I had a game one time and I brought these, and I had my Mercurial Superfly 8 Elites for firm ground, which I'll be doing a review on soon. You'll see those soon. But I brought both of those to the pitch so I could train and play in this game. And I started out the first half with these on. I ended up taking them off after about 35 minutes because these were crushing my toes. Oh yeah, big fact. If you have long nails, make sure you cut them before wearing these, because these will crush them. And when that crushes down, it's going to dig into your toes, and that will be super uncomfortable. So you do not want to experience that. So cut your nails if you're going to get these, and you're a male and you have wide feet. But besides that, when I took these off and put on my Mercurial Superfly 8 Elites, the difference in weight was insane. It was ridiculous. Like, I felt so much lighter, but I felt like I could move so much freer. And it's not because these boots are necessarily bad, it's just the weight is ridiculous, and I feel like that owes to all the padding that's on the upper. And the sole plate, it's relatively light and thin, like, so I feel like it's just has to do with like a lot of the materials that are used to construct this upper and to make it like structured enough for the female foot the way Nike wanted it to be. In terms of the sole plate, we already went over this. The bite in this is incredible, and the ability to twist and pivot is unmatched. So there's nothing much to say there. It's just insane. If you have these on feet, you will enjoy like sprinting and twisting and pivoting. But when it comes to the actual other parts of the game, like shooting, dribbling, passing, it's just not the greatest experience. It's just kind of average, and it's just the best of both worlds. It's a jack of trades, masters of probably traction, I'd say, but it has a lot to improve on. So for performance, I'm gonna have to give the Lunas a 6 out of 10. Overall, the Phantom Lunas are not a bad boot. They are pretty good, like, for what they seek out to achieve. I think with twisting and pivoting, they're very good in that regard. Like, they've engineered the sole plate to do that, and I feel like for a female foot, this will do an amazing job. But for the male foot, it's just not worth it to have, in my opinion. Like, there are just so many other options out there that are better and will do the job for you and will destroy your feet in the process. Like, for example, if you want something that's barefoot, it will give you a pingy touch on the ball, get a Crazy Fast Plus or a Mercurial Vapor Superfly right now. Even like an older one, like a 14 or an 8 if you want. If you want the grip on the ball, you could get a Predator Accuracy Plus or 0.1, or even Nike Phantom GX, which is what this is derived from. Those are infinitely better in terms of comfort, like just thickness of the upper, touch on the ball, things like that. It's just so much better than what these have to offer. If you're looking for the ability to twist and pivot, get something with conical studs like a Tiempo Legend 10, or anything from Mizuno pretty much, anything from like Pantofolo, or like even the New Balance Tequila V4. Any of those with conical studs will do an infinitely better job at helping you twist and pivot. Or maybe not a better job, but they will do nearly as good of a job, or even on par of a good job, even if they don't do it as well as these, just because these are just not worth it in the comfort department. If you're a female though, I highly recommend you get these and you try them out, because these are designed for you. They are supposed to protect your feet, protect your knees, and help you play better, according to Nike. So why not? If they're made for you, then I would highly suggest trying them out. But personally, for a male athlete, especially if you have wide feet, just go for something else. You can do a lot better than the Nike Phantom Luna. In terms of that, my overall rating for these are 7.5 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10, and these reflect just how decent these are. Like, they're not a bad boot, but they could be better if Nike does some things to like reduce the weight. Maybe, I don't know, make a women's fit version and a men's fit version, I'd say. Like, that'd be a great idea to really like make the boots more accessible to everyone in that regard. But beyond that, there's not much else I can say about these. For $365, they should be better, and that's just the way that the cookie crumbles, you know. But anyways, thank you guys for watching this review. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed the little B-roll clips I put in of me like playing with the boots and showing you how they look on feet, doing different tasks, different activities. Stay tuned for more reviews, more training sessions, and if you're interested, check out my other content on TikTok and Instagram. It's by the same name as this YouTube channel. So with that said, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video, and take care.